Welcome back to what will probably be the last video in this series of 4 videos discussing financial calculator operation. If you've been following along, we are working with the 4 most popular, as far as I can tell, financial calculators out there. And this one's a beaut. I saved the best one for last. It's like a brick. It's a calculator that, in fact, is brand new. But I've been using this HP-12C, this model, for a long time. I don't want to date myself. It's the only financial calculator really that I've used. It's been my go-to. It was my go-to for 22 years to the day in practice. When I was in the commercial real estate industry, working as a loan officer and as a special servicing asset manager. It's a calculator that I've had, that I carry around in pretty much every classroom that I find myself in. It's my go-to. And so this is going to be a really fun one for me. I think I could operate this or run this financial calculator in my sleep, but let's get right to it. So if you've been following along, you've probably noticed that the math that we've been using in each video is similar, and that's by design. And so let's get right into it. So to clear the registers in this financial calculator, we press this F key and clear. You see the little register button. We're clearing the registers. To change the decimal places is pretty easy. It's not like going through, pressing 5 different buttons. We simply press F2. There we go. It's kind of slick, isn't it? F9. We can actually use F9 on this one. F6. That's nice when we're dealing with a percentage. F2, that's nice when we're dealing with a dollar amount because cents matter. And so we'll just start here. So the first example, let me back up. The time value of money keys, here's the line. Every calculator has a line. I like that they do that. I doubt that it's because, we think in terms of timelines in finance, but I do like that it's just on one line as it relates to these different models of the financial calculators. The 2 HP models, the 2 TI models. And here we've got the trusty HP-12C. So here's our time value of money line. Here are the 5 basic or primary time value of money keys that we'll be using. So right here. Again, PV and FE. That denotes a single payment or a lump sum or a hypothetical lump sum, for example, if we're solving for the future value. These are our 3 payment keys. Yes, there are 3 payment keys. We need to be able to read into these keys. What does PV mean? Well, it's a single payment. It's a lump sum or a hypothetical lump sum. What does FV mean? It's a future value, but it's a single payment or a lump sum or a hypothetical lump sum. What about payment? We use the payment key when we're dealing with an even or level payment. In other words, there's frequency. In the examples that we've been using and that we will continue to use in this video, $100 payment that is even. There are 2 of them, 2 $100 payments. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First, we're going to work with a single or a lump sum payment. So we're going to clear the registers because it's good form. F and then clear registers. 100 negative. We're going to change the sign. It's a better way to say it. Change sign. And we're going to put that in as PV. So let's think about that. It's good at every point to think about what we're doing. So this is a lump sum or a single payment that is made now or at the beginning of this timeline in this example. 5%, I got to make sure, I got my cheat sheet. I got to make sure that we used 5%. Yes, we did. 5% for the true investment yield. This is input as a percentage. 2 for N. So this is a total, the total investment period includes 2 periods. And for this example, let's just assume those are annual periods. So recall, here's the recall button, recall I, that is a true annual investment yield as a result, because we're telling time between time period markers with annual time periods. So this is the only investment yield that works, that allows us to compound monies into the future or discount monies backward under the timeline. If we haven't talked about that yet, we will. We don't move money along the timeline. It's a no-no to add or subtract or compare money in different points in time. No. But the action happens below the timeline by way of what I like to call indifferent lines, because indifferent is that one word that I think about when I think about the time value of money. We want to make sure that every one of these keys has a value. So we're going to put in 0 for payment. Why? Because there's not a regular even payment series here. We're trying to compute the future value of this $100 payment. And so we just press future value. Don't have to press enter here. We don't have to press compute. It's pretty simple. Let's use the recall key again to see what we have here. Okay, it's a 2-year. Okay, so there's a relationship between the PMT key and N. Okay, there are no even payments, but this is a 2-period investment horizon. And so, okay, we've got a $100 investment made at the beginning of the period. Negative, that means it's a deposit or an investment. Monies are leaving our hands. 5%, that relates to the period, not the 2 years. That's a 5% true investment yield. For this storyline that we're telling, we're calling it a 5%, a true annual investment yield. So that $100 investment will grow to $105 at the end of the first investment period. And then at the end of the second investment period, it grows to $110.25. Brent, why not $110? Because of compound, I don't like this term, interest. I prefer compound investment yield, because now you've got not only the principal investment working for you, i.e. $100, but you've got your $105 working for you that second period. Return on, return on. So those monies are snowballing. So that's how we compute future values. So let's clear out the registers again. It's that simple. F and then clear registers. Let's move on to the next example. This example contemplates 2, notice I put that in for N, $100 payments. We can use that key because that payment is level. It is even. It is not changing. And there's a relationship with how I teach this between N and this payment key, not only for the financial calculator, but when we're dealing with the building block time value of money equation that is relevant. And we'll be doing that because we want to double check our work. We don't want to use this as too much of a crutch. Yes, it's a trusty financial calculator, the HP-12C, but we don't want to use it as a crutch. We want to be able to double check our work. So we have 2 $100 payments. Let's use the recall key. Okay, these are free. That's good. We've got a 10% true investment yield. 0 for future value. We want to put that in there. And it's good. It's not only good form to use the recall key, but it's good form to put 0 in for future value in instances like this when we're working to calculate the present value, because we want to make sure there are no stragglers. 2 $100 payments. There's no lump sum at the end. There could be, but there's not in this example. And we're assuming a true, we don't know what kind of investment yield yet, but it's a true investment yield. And when we calculate, we had to press it twice there. When I press the PV key, what does that mean? Well, that's the hypothetical, that's the present value. That is the present value of $100 to be received 1 period from now. Notice so I didn't say 1 year, because I'm going to change up the storyline. And then another $100 to be received 2 periods from now. And let's just assume that those are semi-annual periods. So let's go back to the financial calculator. 2 $100 investments. Okay, imagine that timeline in your mind's eye. We're going to receive $100 6 months from now, because we said that each time period represents 6 months or semi-annual period. So we're going to receive the first of the 2 $100 payments 6 months from now, the second payment 6 months beyond that. So our total investment horizon is 1 year. That includes 2 periods. Can you see the timeline in your mind's eye? I hope so. If not, we're going to be drawing a lot of them, and they're easier to draw than stick people. And the present value of that even cash flow stream is $173.55. So we would be indifferent between $173.55 received today or $100 to be received 6 months from today, and then $100 to be received 6 months beyond that, so a year from today, assuming a 10% true what? Semi-annual investment yield. Because as we're going to work through in this class, and it's okay if you don't understand this yet, because this is a video really about a financial calculator, but I also want to sprinkle in some general time value of money nuggets in here. One of the first things that we have to do when we're working with the mathematics of finance, i.e. the time value of money, is figuring out how are we telling time on the timeline. In other words, between 1 and 2 on a timeline, what is that span of time? In this most recent example, we've said it's 6 months. So the only true investment yield that works to compound monies into the future or to discount monies back is a true fill in the blank semi-annual investment yield. Nothing else works. A nominal rate doesn't work. A true annual rate doesn't work. A true monthly rate doesn't work. Could you use those rates to compute the true semi-annual rate? Yes, you could. But it's very important that we match that up. And we're going to talk about it in the class. And it's important that we match up the time span in between period markers on the timeline with the true investment yield. And so that's just what we talked about right there. Okay, let's move on. So let's clear the registers. And let's move on to our next example. The next example contemplates an uneven annuity. So in other words, the payments are not level. They're not even. They're irregular. And so let's use what I call the IRR or net present value function of this calculator. Some people just call it cash flow mode. And I think that's because on this calculator right here, financial calculator, there's this cash flow key, and you have to press that to get into cash flow mode. And you have to actually do that before you can clear the registers in cash flow mode by pressing second and clear work. That was the update to the video that I provided previously. And so let's talk about how to work with or run the numbers for an uneven annuity using our trusty HP-12C. I can't wait to see if there are any trusty HP-12Cs in the classroom this summer. We're going to clear the register again because it's good form. Because I was talking and I kind of forgot what I was doing, and we always want to make sure that the registers are cleared. So F, and clear the registers. In keeping with the previous example that we've worked through in these other videos, we're going to put in 0. So 0, and then blue. Let me see here. It's been a while. I gotta move over so that I can see what I'm doing here. Right. I was working with all these other calculators, and so I expected to see something, some display, but and you might notice I'm wearing the same stuff. I'm just recording financial calculator videos all day, like about 2 hours worth. Okay, so we're going to clear the financial calculators and we're going to start again. So 0, and then this blue key And right there on this one, you see CF0. That means cash flow 0. The next, so this in this example, and if you haven't watched the other videos, I'll just set it up really quick. So this example contemplates $100 to be received 1 period from today. Again, notice I didn't say 6 months, a year, a quarter. I mean, we'll get to that. This example assumes $100 is to be received 1 period from today, $200 2 periods from today, $300 3 periods from now, and then $400 4 periods from today. So the first, I'm going to clear it again and start from scratch and put it a little closer so you can see. The first thing that we did was we pressed 0 and then the blue key and CF0 because there's not a cash flow at time period 0 as represented on the timeline. Then we're going to press 100 blue cash flow 1. It doesn't tell us it's cash flow 1. We just have to know that. 200 blue key cash flow subscript J, but we know that's cash flow 2. 300 blue key cash flow subscript J, that's our cash flow at time period 3 on the timeline. And then 400 blue key cash flow, we got it. Now with this financial calculator, what we need to do is we need to put in, okay, how long is this investment horizon? 4N. So here you can see with it, maybe you can see that we're using both the IRR and net present value functionality, the keys, as well as some of the basic keys up here, more so than with the other models of financial calculators. Next, we are going to compute net present value. And so we use this key, the F key, because notice NPV up here. And, oh, you know what? I forgot something. 8% needs to go in for the hurdle rate. And then we're going to compute net present value. There we go. That was the number we were looking for. $796.22. So you would be indifferent between receiving $796.22 today and that cash flow, uneven cash flow stream that we just talked about, so long as you could invest your money, recall I, at 8% for a true investment yield. Let's change up this storyline a little bit. Let's say that the time period between period markers on the timeline is 3 months, so a quarter of a year. So there are 4 of those. So, okay, that's a year total, right? And we know that, okay, we're going to receive $100 3 months from now, $200 6 months from now, $300 9 months from now, $400 a year from now. With that picture painted, we would be indifferent. Recall, we're going to go back to the net present value. I did F, net present value. We'd be indifferent between receiving this amount now and that uneven cash flow stream that I just went through again, provided the true quarterly, because that's how we're telling time between period markers on the timeline, investment yield is 8%. Because we're indifferent, all else equal, between those values. We're going to clear the registers again by pressing F and then register clear. And with our last example, we are going to assume that to get, or to quote unquote buy, that uneven cash flow stream, we have to invest $100 today. So the monies will be leaving our hands. So that has a negative sign associated with it. So we've cleared our registers and we're going to press 100, change sign, the blue key, and the cash flow 0. That is our initial investment. And now we're going to input the expected cash inflows. The first one, the second one, notice how we're using this other key. The third one, the fourth one, and we need to put in 4 for N to let our calculator know that this is an investment horizon that considers 4 periods. So every one of those periods, we're telling time the same, right? So to keep with the most recent example, every period represents 3 months or a quarter of a year. So altogether, our investment horizon is 12 months or 1 year. So 4 quarters. And 8 goes in for I. That is our discount rate. It's also the true investment yield. A discount rate is another way to refer to that, because we're wanting to discount back that uneven payment stream. And when we compute net present value, we press this, it's more of a yellow key, this yellow key and net present value. And we get a number that, no surprise, is $100 less than the last number that we calculated. And this is because net present value is simply the present value net of the initial investment. Net present value. The name says it all. So if you remember this cash flow stream, if you've got it visualized in your mind's eye, at time period 0, there was a $100 cash outlay, an investment, a deposit. And then the hope was, and we're going to put some time to this, 3 months from now, we'll get $100. Half a year from now, 2 quarters from now, we'll get $200. 9 months from now, 3 quarters from now, we'll get $300. 4 quarters from now, a year from now, 12 months from now, we're going to get that $400 payment. And so this total investment horizon contemplates 4 quarterly time periods. And because we're telling time quarterly, recall that is a true quarterly investment yield. Some people like to use the term interest rate, but that's old dated language, but whatever. It's a conversation for another day, because not every investment promises interest, but whatever. That's kind of my issue with the term compound interest, but everyone and their dog seems to know the term. So that's okay. So there we have it. So compute, I'm saying compute, but it's the F, the orange or the yellow F key. Net present value, there we go. $696.22. So we've got it. What else is there to know about this calculator? I think that's pretty much it. You're going to use the clear function quite a bit. You're going to use the recall function. We've cleared it, so all of these values should be 0 in the different time value of money registers. It's a pretty nice calculator. It's durable. It's trusty. I like it a lot. So I hope you found this video, what is probably going to be the last video in this series, to be helpful. Not only because we talked about some specific instructions with regard to this model of financial calculator, the HP-12C, but also because of the sprinklings of general time value of money concepts. This is the focus of our second week together. It's my favorite thing to talk about when talking about anything related to finance. And so I'm really looking forward to spending the semester with you and to seeing if there are any HP-12Cs when it comes to class time. See you soon.